Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. So a lot of you really enjoyed last video with the commentary, so we're gonna do another full run, but we're switching gears a little and we're gonna use the Cleric class. I will be getting back to Fighter and actually Barb too in the future, but I want to throw this in there because one of my first videos was actually using Cleric in Goblin Caves and how to do it successfully. I had a lot of people comment about Judgment versus Smite, and as you'll see, this first little video is of me and a team of 3 attempting to be a good Cleric, and then coming up we get into the full run on the Forgotten Castle. Switching from a high speed, high mobility type fighter setup to a Cleric setup is a big change, and then throwing yourself into teams of 3, it's even more difficult. So this little thing coming up here is what I like to call the funky chicken when you use Judgment, and you'll see what I mean.
Right at the end, you can just add your own little chicken moves.
I have a rogue on me. Now, I'm not saying Judgment is as awkward as that video every time you use it. I'm just saying there are situations where it can be a little clumsy, and which is why I prefer Smite. Especially if I'm not in a team, I don't have a front line, I'm just relying on my own movement and basically decision making. I find Judgment can kind of hold you back a little bit in those situations. I'll let you guys be the judge of that, no pun intended, but we're going to jump right into this, and this is a full run of me on Forgotten Castle using Smite. I'm also using pretty much basic gear, as you can see, and surviving Forgotten Castle as a solo Cleric is a much different task than surviving Goblin Caves. Just, you're slow, you make a lot of noise, and your weapons require you to get in people's faces, so it can be a challenge. And just to begin, this little area is really awkward sometimes because of the verticality and looking at the map, not to mention all the traps and the eventual room it tries to force you into with a lot of mobs. You'll see right away I pop Smite just to hopefully take care of that skeleton a little faster, and you'll see that a lot more throughout this, using Smite on mobs. A lovely bit of luck just to start, finding a nice red skeleton. It's not necessarily that they're that difficult, it's just the time it takes to get through all these mobs. Even with Smite, that red skeleton took a lot of swings. It's a challenge spacing yourself well while being this slow with a short range weapon. Not to mention a weapon that has a sweet spot on the tip, so if you do get too close, you're doing less damage, unfortunately. Usually breaking pots as a solo player is a little bit scary, because you just know someone's probably going to hear you, but with these middle of the map spawns, it's actually so nice being able to just loot like crazy. And this is where things start to get frustrating. Your reach isn't great, your movement speed's slow, I don't have Judgment for any range damage. And it just gets really awkward as a Cleric sometimes. It's already a lot more damage than I'd like to be taking, but luckily I brought a lot of meds, and Cleric has so many heals. Really hoping to get some decent loot from these, but, you know, make this run a little bit worth it. Seriously, as a solo player, my goal is just, if you get there mid-spawn or middle of the map spawn, just loot everything you can, and then make it out. Like, I'm not trying to PvP with a setup like this. I personally find bandages just a little bit too slow. I don't think the health you get from them is that amazing, and they take so much longer. I sometimes seriously wonder why I even loot chests, because I absolutely hate fighting mimics, and they're the most noisiest, awkward things in the world. And right on cue, now we got a guy chasing us too. pre-buffing Divine Strike because I know I'm going to need it. And trying to get some distance from this guy. Well, okay then. I honestly don't have a clue how to get back to that body. Divine Strike plus Smite did make quick work of that guy, but now I'm kind of in a bit of a situation. And I really want that loot. Every dollar counts when you're on a tight budget. And just a tip for you guys, I guess you can buff dead mobs. I had no idea. I was just not paying attention, trying to get my bearings, and I accidentally healed a dead spider. Being officially lost really sucks. So I end up running this way, taking a ton of damage to a bunch of stupid things, thinking that this is the way I need to be going, and then realizing I have no sweet clue where I'm going. Like, not one. I'm looking at the map, like, spinning around in circles. I see the big open room, which I don't want to be in. I've now aggroed every mob in this entire area, and I'm trying to remember where all the spikes are on the wall. So, just overall, this is a pretty awful situation. Realizing I don't have much of a choice here, it's best to just clear this stuff and get on with it. I really don't like making this much noise, but here we are. Once Smite wears off, you'll see those guys took a lot more hits. So that 15 damage per swing, it's pretty valuable when you're trying to clear stuff. And, I mean, as you've seen before, in PvP it can be successful. Like, using Judgment in that past situation would have been really challenging considering I had a Mimic in my face. So I couldn't really stop. I'd be taking damage regardless of what I did. Finally getting back to what I want to actually be doing, which is looting. I actually snagged a nice potion, which is going to come in very handy. It's actually silly how long it takes to loot stuff as a cleric, though. It can be very, very frustrating. Unfortunately, nothing too exciting from those chests. This is when I start to miss fighter class even more because you can pretty much wear anything and everything. Nice. Body block by the torch, and not having the movement speed, I take 2 hits from this skeleton, which makes me very sad. Like, very, very sad. The only reason why I'm still somewhat surviving this run is basically because I'm a cleric. I did bring some decent meds, but you also get a ton of heals just from your, you know, innate spell abilities. Hearing footsteps immediately spooks me because I'm pretty much at half HP. And, yeah, I just want to loot and be left alone. Quickly double checking to make sure I have all my spells in the right positions, which can get confusing if you're switching around from teams to solo because you're moving those spells a bit or adding in new ones. It can be really sad if you accidentally pop like a bind instead of a protection buff. So getting used to the cleric spells is definitely a learning experience. I'm really hoping these players just move on. Seeing a nice little reinforced chest and being here purely to make gold, I decide, oh, why not loot this one? And we get another Mimic. I swear, there are some runs in this dungeon that are just cursed, where you get all the Mimics at the worst times. I do hear a portal, so our luck may be changing. I'm really curious where those guys took off to. Because the ring's starting to get pretty close now. I've been in this area pretty much the whole run. And unfortunately, it was a red portal I heard and not a blue. So honestly, at this point, I'm looking for a way out. Yep, that's a cleric. So we're gonna have a cleric fight. Looks like he should have chose Divine Strike like I did. Even whiffing the first 3 attacks, I still had enough damage to go through the protection buff, which I think is only physical damage. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. And I chewed through that protection buff, and 2 hits and he was dead. And you'll see, hitting people with the mace is not that easy when players are going side to side. That swing is such a straight line, you have to be very, very exact. So I give all you cleric players that use mace or Morningstar a lot of credit. And I think we're going to be able to make it out of here alive. This is that was the fight we needed to basically secure our escape from this hellhole. And I'm really excited. A little bit more loot. I get a decent inventory. I don't really know why I'm taking crossbow, but I think you can sell crossbows for around 50 Gs at this point. So I'm happy. You know, this is successfully making it out as a cleric, even with all the struggles. So once again, thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I think there's a cleric I go and kind of scroll over at the end who's actually using the other ability. I forget the name of it right off, but you'll see it here in a second. Which clears mobs, basically, if you're in a PvE situation for your team. Don't see it used as often. But look, I hope you like the cleric. I will be doing more fighter and more barb. I can't believe how many people actually subscribed last video simply because I asked, which isn't something I really like doing, but 1,000 subs is the goal before next playtest, so I gotta be greedy here. I gotta think about myself a little. I really hope you guys are liking the videos and the content, and I appreciate every single one of you guys that's leaving comments or likes. I've enjoyed discussing and basically debating a lot of these things in the comment section, so feel free to do that. I usually try to reply to all of them. I am no Dark and Darker expert. I'm just sharing some of the things I experienced, and hopefully you guys are learning a little bit from it as well. So cheers for now, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the dungeon on April 14th.